Hi, I'm Nancy McCluskey from Tin House. I'm so excited to tell you about some upcoming releases. First up, The Butcher's Blessing comes out on November 10th by Ruth Gilligan. This book is so good. It's so creepy. It's an Indie Next pick, an Amazon editor's pick, a Barnes & Noble favorite book of the month. It takes place in Ireland in the 1990s, just as this tension is happening in the country. They're just stepping onto the global stage economically, and at the same time there's this pull to the older ways, the traditions, the superstitions, the myths, and all of that tension is alive in this book. It opens with a man in a rural slaughterhouse hanging from a hook, and the last page is a young girl wielding a very sharp knife trying to enact revenge. We have such high expectations for this book. You'll want to read it with all the doors locked, but you won't be able to put it down. Comes out November 10th, $25.95, hardcover. Next is A Got by Marlene von Nierkirk. Hands down, my favorite book that Tin House has ever published. We published it initially in 2010, and Toni Morrison wrote me a letter to tell me that she thought the book was mesmerizing. She gave us a blurb for the front cover. And Mary Gateskill wrote this 2-page review in Book Forum that was so devastating and so insightful. I practically memorized it. I had to write her a fan letter. That's how much I love this review. The New York Times Book Review gave it a full spread review, glowing. She's compared to J.M. Coetzee, and this book to me has everything. It's so psychologically astute. So it takes place in the 1950s through the 1990s. It starts with Milla, this farm owner in South Africa, who takes in this young black slave girl into the home. This was not done at the time. The husband did not want this. The neighbors did not want this, but she was insistent. And then at the end, she's dying of ALS, and she can only communicate with her eyes, and it's only her and a God. And all the power dynamics, all of the tensions are alive. And it's a masterpiece. It's coming out on December 1st as a trade paperback original, $18.95. The House on Vesper Sands by Pork O'Donnell. We know about this because Helen McDonald was going on and on and on about what a genius Pork O'Donnell is on NPR, and we immediately went to find this book, and he is a genius. This is a chiller of a mystery, Victorian, 1890, and this it's very creepy but also very funny, and it's made for the modern age. So it begins with a seamstress who jumps out of her employer's home with a message stitched into her skin. And there's a rash of missing girls. And there's an Inspector Cutter who is deeply committed to his work, but also so wryly funny. He will have you laughing out loud. And then there's Gideon Bliss, who's in love with one of the missing girls, and he gets involved in the investigation. And then there's this reporter, Octavia, who she's supposed to be writing about society pages, but she knows that there's a story here and she can't look away. This book is so good. We know it's going to be an Indie Next pick. We have 20 endorsements from booksellers. Barnes & Noble has taken a huge buy for this book with merchandising. We're doing an enormous print run. We couldn't be more excited. It's coming out on January 12th as a hardcover, $25.95. Next is Bride of the Sea by Iman Quota. This is our debut on the list. And it's about this young couple from Saudi Arabia who is living in Ohio, and their marriage breaks up. They have a young girl, and Munir goes back to Saudi Arabia, and the mother stays with the daughter in Ohio. And things go okay. Munir comes when he can, when they're trying to co-parent from different countries, and it's fine enough. But Samir, the mother, gets more and more nervous that the father or his family will want to take the child back to Saudi Arabia. And on her 5th birthday, she decides to run away. and the rest of the novel is the fallout of that decision. In the backdrop is the Gulf War, is 9/11, is immigration, is culture, and all of that is being done, but the story itself is so personal, so intimate, so deeply felt. It's an extraordinary book by a debut author born in Saudi Arabia and raised in Ohio. It's coming out on January 26th as a trade paperback original, $16.95. Next is The Whispering House by Elizabeth Brooks. Elizabeth Brooks published The Orphan of Salt Winds, and for Tin House, it was a word-of-mouth sensation. We're so excited to bring out her second book. It's such a good, creepy story. Freya is 23 years old. She's at a wedding, and she looks up, and there's this estate. It's called Burn Hall, just a little ways away, and there's just something about it that's kind of like a magnet for her. And before she knows it, she walks right into the foyer. She sees this portrait, and it has a striking resemblance to her sister. And something about it just kind of haunts her. And she goes back 2 weeks later, and she meets the son who lives there and his ailing mother who he's taking care of. And she decides she'll stay for a couple nights. And then it turns into a couple weeks, and everything gets so weird. And she has to question who she is and what really happened to her sister and what is love and the power of it to bring tenderness but also unspeakable violence. It's coming out on March 16th as a trade paperback original, $16.95. And last, I have to tell you about Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller. She's the author of Our Endless Numbered Days, Bitter Orange, and Swimming Lessons. This book that's coming out this summer is going to blow your mind. It's the best book that she's written yet. As soon as I have galleys, I'll let you know. Thanks so much.